Matthew, thank you
Great.
so much for joining the podcast. Yeah, owner of Level Up. I know your expertise lie in lead generation, web design, and a little bit in SEO, but thank you so much for joining the podcast. Let the audience know a little bit about who you are and what it is you do.
So I'm Matthew. I run an agency called Level Up Digital and another agency called Midnight Owl. And basically, we do mainly lead generation services, but we also dabble a bit in SEO and web design.
Amazing. And Matthew, lead generation is often seen as, the backbone of any online business. What are some of the most effective strategies and ways to do lead generation out there to really attract quality leads today?
So the best form of any lead generation possible would obviously be inbound leads. But that's of course like a long-term game. So that's a long-term game. So if you have content creation, if you have a YouTube account or you're big on social media and you sort of post consistently, you'll eventually get a lot of inbound leads. That is the best form of leads because there are people who already know what you do and are interested in your services. But the type of lead generation I do are companies that don't really have inbound leads. So they are looking more for outbound lead generation. They are looking to book more calls on the calendar. And we tend to use a bit of the most effective currently is called email. Even though it is relatively expensive, it still performs the best and you can book most of your calls from it.
Interesting.
We also do LinkedIn. LinkedIn outreach is also very, very powerful.
Amazing. And everyone always suggests cold email outreach as one of the best lead forms out there. Is it just because email is like never dying? Or do you actually just see like really great results from it?
So when I first started in cold email, should I say 3 years ago, the cold email industry was very different. It was much easier to get results on cold email than what it was. And almost anyone could just get a few inboxes and start sending emails. They would get a relatively good reply rate and they could get good leads. But currently, at the moment, cold email is relatively hard to get into, so it's a very sort of niche down and specialized industry. So when I first started, it was mainly about creative copywriting to get people to open the emails. Now it's become a very technical thing where people need to find a way to inbox, otherwise they go into the spam folder. Sort of, if you get that right, there are tools to get that right. You can get a lot of success with it because it still has very, very good reply rates, very, very good positive reply rates. And it's one of those sort of things where you can send a lot of emails and you can get leads consistently if you do it consistently.
Amazing.
And consistency is key here.
Yeah, I guess consistency is key, especially in lead generation. And I find a big struggle people always, the most common struggle that always arises is getting the good quality lead list. How would you get this? How would you get a great quality lead list?
So I've gotten leads through a bunch of different sources through the years. The main sort of industry standard that a lot of people use is a leads database called Apollo. And people would use Apollo to get a bunch of leads from mainly in the US, Europe, but there are South Africans on the list as well. And it is a very strong database to use. And then there are other databases that are more updated and can be filtered out more. These databases are more expensive, one being Zoom Info, which is extremely expensive, but it has higher quality of leads and leads that are not outdated. So there will be like more updated people whose emails are newer, more verified, etc., etc.
Yeah.
And then the alternative, which we use a lot, is we would scrape LinkedIn profiles. Build lead lists through that. There are tools. There's a very, very strong tool. It's an enricher tool that a lot of people in the space use. Not just cold emailers, but a lot of people who run agencies, whether it be content agencies and stuff. They use a tool called Clay. And Clay is just basically a lot of softwares and a lot of services put into one tool, and you can use all of them at once. So you can build lists from it. Let's say if you're looking for staffing and recruiting companies, you can do that. Or if you are a staffing and recruiting company and you're for, let's say, companies with open job listings, you can use various different platforms and it will integrate into one and use that.
Oh,
and we use that quite a
nice.
We use that quite a bit, yeah, to build lists. So it will like incorporate 5 different softwares into one.
Oh, beautiful. Beautiful. Oh, that's so beautiful. And what would you say is like the most common mistake business owners make when it comes to lead generation?
The biggest mistake I've seen business owners make is they don't follow up enough. I learned from a mentor that the money is in the follow-up. A lot of the times people would, let's say someone responds to you positively and you build a list of, let's say, 10 positive replies, 10 people interested in your services, but only 2 get back to you today. A lot of people forget about the 8 and they never follow up with them. They consider them lost leads. But in reality, the majority of the time, those people are just busy. And if you consistently follow up with them in spaces, down the line, they could become clients. And I think that's the biggest issue a lot of people have here.
I love that. Yeah, more follow-ups, definitely. And the warmer the lead, the better, or is that just the saying?
The warmer the lead, the better. So that's extremely strong. What I've done is, if I use cold email and someone replies positively, we would warm call them straight away and tell them a bit about ourselves before we book in a call, like a sales call or discovery call. And that helps out a lot compared to trying to book someone through cold email or DMs on LinkedIn. It's much harder to do it through messages than just picking up the phone and calling them.
Yeah, definitely. And acting quick. Everyone said to me that, when you get someone replying to any form of lead generation, you got to act quick.
Definitely. I try my best, like, to reply within half an hour. But there are some people in the industry that I look up to, like, they make sure it has to be under 5 minutes after they get a response from someone that they call them up or reply. And it's proven that the percentage of booking them in is much higher.
Yeah.
If you reply much faster.
Yeah, definitely. And when you look at the content itself, let's take creating content and email lead generation for an example. I know you have some SEO expertise, but what are the strategies that you would say is best to implement when coming up with your actual message, your content? Because I know each business is also different, but is there some winning strategies?
Is this with regards to SEO or general content?
I would say lead generation. And does SEO play a role?
Yes, SEO does play a role. So especially with clients where if we are sending emails, even if people do not respond to you, it drives a lot of traffic to your website. And the fundamentals of SEO, which we use to rank on websites, if we use those fundamentals of writing copy, people tend to like when they read through it, it's much more structured, like you read in a book. And even if they are not finding your website through Google, but through other means, having a sort of strategy where you are explaining what you do in the clearest form possible, such as your value proposition or your offers or your benefits or your solutions to a problem, which we try to work through with SEO, but you can kill two birds with one stone by doing that if you are doing a landing page or with a VSL, because they are interlinked very much, especially with how you want to portray a message online.
Okay. Okay, interesting.
Especially with emails as well. If I look at I usually use a company's copy on their website, especially if they have good SEO, to help me write copy for the emails.
Okay.
Rather than trying to generate a offer from scratch, we can look at what works well for them through their website.
Yeah, definitely. And now knowing that, cold email outreach and creating content are the best two ways to do lead generation. What about cold calling? Is cold calling in 2025 still a thing? Is it dying down? What do you think about cold calling?
I know a lot of people in the lead generation space have, especially people who run cold email agencies, have started implementing cold calling again as part of their service. And because cold calling, you have a higher chance of booking meetings than cold email and other services. Like, just a lot of people do not want to pick up a phone and call. Me included, I would rather warm call someone than cold call someone. But cold emails have a higher chance of booking in a call, but you also have that sense of people swearing at you and telling you to go away, in a sense,
Yeah, you have to have thick skin.
Yeah, you have to have thick skin to do cold calling, but it is still one of the most effective ways. Like, if you are basically starting out and you don't have money to build an infrastructure for cold email or cold DMs, cold calling is still the best. And even if you have all of those, it's still very, very good to implement in your outreach.
Yeah, definitely. And I would say, I know you mentioned that cold email is quite expensive, but is it as expensive as paid ads? And would you say you get better results from cold email?
So it depends on the industry. So I've seen industries where people pay upwards of $120 per lead or per call they book from ads, which is astronomically higher than, let's say, if you spend $200 a month on a cold email system and you get quite a lot more leads than spending 120 on one lead. But also, there have been instances where people are in a very, very good industry where it costs them $10 per lead, and they can scale much higher than that if they have like a very, very good offer, a very, very good product or service.
I see.
So it depends on the industry and the type of company you have.
Definitely depends on the type of industry and the business and the company you have. And my last question to you, Matthew, is what is one piece of advice that you would give to other entrepreneurs looking to level up their online presence and drive more conversions?
Ooh, that's a very tricky one. First of all, the biggest advice I'd give any entrepreneur who's starting out is you just have to know why you're going into the space, or why do you want your agency or your business to succeed. Because if you're going in for the wrong reasons, let's say thinking you're going to make a lot of money from the get-go, you are not going to succeed because your intentions are wrong. Yes, down the road you can make a lot of money, but it takes a lot of work for for a few years to get where you need to be. And that's number one. Number two is you can do a lot of work and not see any results for like years at a time, sometimes months. But eventually the results will compound. You will start to see some opportunities, some fruits of your labor. And sometimes it just compounds and things just start opening up over time, especially if you are focusing and working hard on the right things of your business. And the last bit of advice I have to say is, like, no man is an island. Never like really struggle on your own. I feel that always asking others in the industry who's done it for advice or help, they are more than likely to give their help and advice to you and help you on your journey to entrepreneurship. When I first started out in my first business, I never asked for help from anyone, and the business failed miserably. And looking back 4 years later, if I asked help back then, certain issues, I probably would have stuck on with that same business. Yeah.
I love it. Matthew, wise words from a wise man. Beautifully said. Thank you so much for your time, and good luck with your ventures in this entrepreneurial journey and everything ahead with you.
Sure. Thank you very much. I really enjoyed being on the podcast. Thank you. Thank you, Bradley.